What's going on, everybody? Jeremy with Detroit Tech. If you've paid attention to our videos, you may have gotten the idea that I'm a bit of a Tolkien nerd. I have a tapestry map of Middle-earth on my wall, an Anduril replica sitting around, and our review of the Xtrfy M4 had the Hobbit book, obviously, in the background of the thumbnail. You can check that video out up here if you're interested. Now, being such a nerd, of course, I noticed when Drop decided to offer Elvish and Khuzdul, that's Dwarvish, keycaps, and of course, I needed to build a keyboard around at least one of the sets. And since I like the Elvish colorway better, Elvish it. I'll put links, of course, to everything I'm using below if you're interested in building such an epic board also. So we obviously started with the Elvish set. I got the training set because I do have to reference the letters on occasion. And I went with the Autumn and Rivendell modifiers since I love the orange color. Wasn't quite a fan of the Evenstar set as it was like a little too like red or pink. The profile is MT3, which was kind of designed to hark back to the old school, like tall keycaps on typewriters, like old consoles. They're PBT with Die Sub Legends, so that's awesome. Next question to solve was what size keyboard. It was an easy pick for me at 65%. If you saw the Tofu 65 build I did a while ago video here, you'll notice that I really like that size and I love it for work. I use a lot of modifiers, insert, page up, page down, and the function key just really makes for really good economy of motion. So I just had to find the right 65% case. My first thought was the Rama M65C, but besides, not being readily available, thus very expensive, it only had one modifier key to the right of the spacebar. I need two at a minimum if I actually want to use the board for work. And since I'm impatient, went back to KBD Fans to see what they had in stock. And glory and trumpets, they had the D65 in stock and they had it in beige, which you might think would be a bad call, but that's the main color of the keycaps. And I think it was going to be close enough that it would really be a great background, kind of blend in and showcase the rest of the caps. Plus, gasket mounted, unlike every other board coming out nowadays. It does have RGB, which I'll use very sparingly. It's an aluminum case, of course, brass weight in it, and the brass plate. And I'm ready to figure out what switches I'm going to use. Now, I'm a linear guy. Kale Pro Burgundies I have in the Tofu 65 are pretty nice, but I needed to, step it up for this board. And what better switch than the NK Creams? I hadn't used them before, so after watching a few videos, I figured they'd work pretty well. I had a feeling they might be a little bit on the clacky side, but they matched everything else. So, that's really what this board is all about. I can't imagine them being so bad that I couldn't even handle it. So that's good. So throw in the KBD Fans carrying case, zebra wood wrist rest, which will get an upgrade, and the Gatoron switch opener. I was ready to build this in a few months when Drop was ready and the board finally ships, the usual. Nice thing about the keycaps coming last is that once they're here, all I have to do is just put them on. So while I waited, lubed all the switches with 205 grade 0. The Duroc V2 stabs got lubed, slotted in the hot swap PCB. The instructions from KBD Fans has us putting the gasket right on the plate, and I only messed that up a little bit. There are some that are just slightly slightly thicker or thinner, but I didn't notice until I was halfway done and I wasn't gonna tear them off and start again, but they still fit. And they also want me to screw the plate to the PCB, but I did see a couple videos, I think Keyboard was one of them, where they didn't do that. And all the switches in there stayed on really well, not like the PCB was gonna fall off, and it did give it a bit of a softer feel. So did the same, got all the switches in, set it down in there. Gaskets are pretty squishy, so I wasn't sure how much give they'd have, but we'll find out. Unlike the GMMK Pro, there are only 8 screws, thank you, holding this together, plate and PCB in, and it's just a waiting game for the keycaps. In the meantime, since I had my wooden wrist rest, I had a friend with a laser, he graciously offered to etch a sigil into the wrist rest. So on the right here, I have a sigil of Eärendil, which I also have a tattoo of. If you wonder who that is, short version, if you've read the books, you've seen the movie, Elrond's dad. So yeah, had to keep the theme going. Cable I got from Met Cables. I decided to kind of invert the colors. Orange is the least amount of color on the actual keycaps, so I did orange is the most color on the cable. Green stayed kind of, in the middle. Beige, least represented on the cable, just on the aviator connector. And while I was still waiting on the keycaps, the artisan cap came in, also from Drop. It's the Lothlorien version. I thought it would go best with the keycap choice, and holy crap, it looks so good. And then the caps came in, and oh man, just look at this board. I could not possibly be happier with the look of this thing. The D65 works perfectly, and the cable is mwah. But does it sound as good as it looks? I mean, I really like it. It might be a little on the clacky side, which I'll just chalk up to the NK creams, but it's still something I could listen to really all day. And that's good, since I spend 3 days a week working from home and this board never leaves my desk. I keep the RGB set to green, gives it a nice kind of spring feeling. And while it has taken me a little while to get used to the keycap profile, as up until now, I've really only used, cherry or whatever similar like keycap profiles, but I like it. Individual caps are shaped and like cupped, really keep each finger in place, helps kind of guide you to the best spot. It feels really, really nice. The board as a whole ended up weighing 1788 grams, or a little over 3.9 pounds. And it sits super solidly on my desk. I'm extremely happy with this board, and I'll go ahead and say it. I don't think I'll be building another board, at least for personal use, anytime soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.